In this lesson, I'm just going to quickly show you where all the major tools and features of the software are located. So along the top edge here we have all our menu items, and in the first row of tools here we have things like print and cut, all our static tools. In the second row of tools, these are dynamic. These tools change depending on what we've got selected in the designing area. Over here on the left hand side we have all our creation tools like text and curves and images and power shapes, etc. And over here we have our color palettes, and we can pop out the design center. When we select on an item up here, I can show you all these menus. These cover just about every major tool and feature of the software, and you can pop these out to see even more menu items like so. Just about every button in the program has a very long hint with a great deal of information, and you've got a great thumbnail viewer here of your recent jobs, and you can just click on one of those to bring up that particular job, and as you can see there it is. Each document has a document tab up the top, and you can jump between documents by simply clicking on that tab. So back in this first row of tools here, as I was showing you before, you have things like your plugins fly out, your selecting tools, you can change the order of your selected objects, you can make things snap to each other. There's some of the modules here. Very important one here is the settings and preferences. These are all the things you'd want to set in the program by default. For example, these sorts of things here, like your default units you prefer to work in. You might want to work in Imperial or something else. You can select from any of these here. Simply select on the one you want. You click this accept button, and that will apply in the program. And when I've got nothing selected, you'll see in the second row of tools I get all my page tools, all the tools related to working with pages. So I've got my page selector here. The software comes with a large range of page sizes, as you can see, and I can select any one of those and they'll automatically apply to my page, as you can see, and I can switch orientation to say landscape and then back to portrait. I can then go back to the page size I was working on like so, and when I click in object mode on text, you can see I've got a mixture of text tools here like the font selector and some of the other text tools, and also object tools at the same time. But if I go into dedicated text mode like this, you can see now in the second row of tools I've still got my font selector here, which is a handy way of selecting fonts like so, but you can also see along here I've got all these text tools that are dedicated while I'm in text mode. So the second row of tools is all about what you're doing in the designing area. So it's important to realize that those tools are dynamic and they change depending on what you've got selected. Like for example, if I select the zoom tool here, you'll see all the zoom tools come up in the second row, and I can zoom in and have a look at what I'm doing a bit more close up, and I've got down the bottom right hand corner I've got all these wireframe tools, etc., and I can zoom to all there. So let's look at something else we can do with the text here. We can say, for example, type in vertical text. So on my left hand side here in that panel of tools I've got all my creation tools, and I can move those the text around on screen like so, and there's some far more advanced text tools there, but you can see separate lessons or the help file on those to get more information about how those particularly work. You can create curves very easily. Just click on the curve tool here, and you can create curves on the fly like so directly onto the screen, and you can come back even while you're creating curves. You can still do node editing, as I'm showing you here. You can move the curve around. When you finish, just click done, and you get the sizing handles, and you can resize directly on the screen like that in the designing area. Over here we have some image tools or bitmap tools. I can acquire an image from my scanner, for example, or I can import an image. I can simply select the image I want to import and drag it onto the screen like that at any size that suits me, and as you can see I can bring in an image very easily. That's how those tools work. Over here we have our shapes tools. So we've got some basic shapes which you can just plonk on the screen, or I've got these power shapes. Now power shapes have special onboard controllers or on-screen controllers. You can see these little nodes here, and if you hover over them you see the hint comes up and explains what they do. For example, the outer radius and the inner border there. And again in the second row of tools these all change, as you can see here. Because I've got a power shape selected, I get all the power shape tools for this particular power shape, which happens to be a square. So that's why I'm seeing all those tools. And I can also rotate this on the screen with this rotate handle here, and it will actually show me the angles as I do it, as so. Put that back. I'll show you the arrow tool now. You can skew it on screen, of course. So I'll just pop out an arrow here, and you'll see all the onboard controllers for the arrow, like so. And you can see up in the second row of tools there, all the arrow tools are available to us, which we can numerically change them as we're going. Now when I select on this text here, I can apply some of these special effects, like for example a block shadow. Again, I've got these on-screen controllers that I can move this block shadow around with, like so, and adjust the block shadow as I need to. In the heads-up display, I can select the block shadow. In the second row of tools, you can see again these have changed. So the second row of tools are now showing us all the tools for block shadow, and I can adjust those as I need to from that second row of tools. On the left-hand side again, now we've got these shaping tools, for example. I can weld these two together. In other words, I can see this overlapping section here. I can get rid of this overlapping section by welding these together, like so. I'll undo that and I'll show you punch out. So now I'll punch the arrow out of the square shape by clicking the punch out. And if I undo that, you can see that's what it's done. So that's quite a handy thing to have. Another example is the distortion tools. Here I can apply a distortion to a bitmap, for example. So you can apply distortions to bitmaps and text and shapes and all those sorts of things. There's no sort of limitation as far as what you can do with distortions. I'll apply a distortion to this text here. I'll use the arc text, as you can see, like so, and I can adjust those on the screen, move them around using the on-screen controllers as I've explained. Other things I can do is like measure. I can measure how wide this text is by simply bringing in this dimension tool. I set it to the left and take it to the right, and it tells me how wide that is, like so. And there's also other tools like the guides here. Guides are great for laying out your artwork. You can snap to guides, etc. There's some great alignment tools and some step and repeat tools here. And I'll actually show you the Design Center now. Now the Design Center is a very powerful set of tools. Over here on our right hand side we have the object selector and the property inspector, and as you can see, as I click on text or objects in the designing area, I get all these properties for this thing I've selected, which in this case is some text here. And you can see there's literally hundreds of properties that I can adjust. I can bring out all the properties for this by clicking on that button up the top, and you can see I can change a wealth of things in this text. I can change the bold, I can change the size of it, the font that it's using, all the different styles, the fills, the backgrounds, all sorts of things. And I can just look at the objects directly like that. I can also go through the pages, as you can see, and I've got a page thumbnail viewer, so I can adjust through the pages here. I can even select objects by visually selecting them, as you can see here. And as I select these objects, you can see that they also select in the list on the right hand side and in the designing area. So when you combine all these things together of having the object selector, the object manager, and I can pop that away, you have a vast array of tools to work with your artwork and to edit it directly as you go. And that Design Center is very powerful for that reason. And of course I can then bring out the specific tools in the Design Center, like the color selectors, the fill styles and the pens and all these sorts of things from the Design Center. There's a wealth of tools here. I can edit things directly on the screen through the Design Center, as you can see as I'm going through some of these here, and I get these previews on screen, so I don't even have to commit to anything. I can actually see what it's going to do before it does it live on the screen before I actually commit to it. And we've got other things like aligning and spacing tools, distribution tools, the step and repeat tools I was talking about before. There's some very advanced tools there. We can add guides to a selected object, like I can apply a guide to the bottom there, apply a guide to the right, like so. I can find out how wide that particular item is. I can set the grid to be showing. I can show it as dots. I can snap to the grid. I can turn it off. I've got these outline tools. Watch as I do this. As I actually create the outline, you see that a live preview on the screen. Then I apply it and it becomes finalized on the object then. I've got these great shaping and welding tools here. I've got text tools and a wealth of tools and features at my disposal. I can just pop it out when I'm finished. Another thing on the right hand side here is the color palettes too. And as you can see here, I've got this default color chart here, and the program also works not only in these default colors, but it also has vinyl colors. There's thousands of these swatches here, and I can just select the color palette I want to work with. I can even adjust the colors if I need to over here on the right, and add color charts and do all sorts of advanced things. And I can bring in a color chart and apply that to any of my artwork as I'm going along. I can just pop that away when I'm finished, and that's a very handy thing to have. Down here in the heads-up display, I can turn pages on and off, grids on and off. These tools down the bottom will update depending exactly what you're doing. I've got my page navigation here. I can easily add a page by clicking here. There's no limit to how many pages you can have in the software, as many as you like. You can delete and add pages as you like, as I'm showing you here, and just pop it all away when you're finished. So that's where all the major tools and features are located throughout the software. Of course, there's a lot to learn about. You need to watch the other lessons and look in the manual, etc. But that gives you a broad understanding of where the main tools and features of the software are located. Thanks for watching.